And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the semi-finals of the Korean StarCraft League, the KSL week number 62. We are back with those semi-finals. We have our top 4 players. We have Cure, we have Zoun, we have Byun, and we have Dark as well. As we have some Zerg representation. We weren't able to cast any Zerg matches in the quarterfinals at least, but we will have them for the semis. Oh boy, we'll get there. For now though, first up, we have another TvP. Oh my god, 3 TvPs in a row. Let's go. And we were praising Zoun earlier for his PvP. Again, Zoun, his best matchup straight up is Protoss versus Protoss. I don't think there's a single Korean player out there that has not fallen at the hands of Zoun over the past month. Whether it's Nightmare, Hero, Classic, or Trap, they've all felt the wrath of Zoun in that PvP matchup. But what about his other matchups? We have been able to catch his Protoss versus Zerg. We were able to cover him against Dark, against Young Yakov, against Wayne, against Shin in weeks past. But his Protoss versus Terran, I'm a little bit less certain of. What I will say is that Zoun's PvZ definitely he's still working on it. Definitely still working on that matchup. Likewise, I'm sure still working on PvT as well. We'll see how he fares against Cure. We shall see. For a very long time, for many years, Cure was renowned for having the best PvT in the world, especially in the lead up or in the COVID era of StarCraft leading into 2020, 2021, 2022 as well. Cure was the one to really look for and kind of lead the charge in PvT. Nowadays, Clem has kind of taken that mantle, but you know, both Clem and Cure, they're teammates. They do practice quite often together. They do improve together as well. And they do bounce ideas off each other, and that has still led to the improvement of Cure. Still though, he's kind of like in the shadow of a lot of Korean Terran players. Like, I feel like when people look at Korean Terrans, they think of Maru, they think of Byun, despite the fact that Cure is definitely up there among them. We'll see how these two compare. We'll see how they face off. Game 1 is going to be on Post-Youth. Oh my god, for the first time tonight. Let's go. For the first time, loading into Post-Youth and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran. Oh my god. The Blue Terran for Team Liquid. It is Cure. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Red Protoss from South Korea. It is Zoun. He is the latest player to come back from the military. I mean, we've had quite a lot of returning players, like Trap a couple months ago, Rogue as well. Zoun most recently. It's great to see him come back and return. And as we dive into this, a big shout out to Cyan, or Cyan. Fala galera, papi, fala galera. Obrigado, thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great time, hope you had a great stream, hope you had a great cast or ladder session. Welcome everyone, welcome. Welcome to the KSL, to the Korean StarCraft League. If you want to help support the KSL, you can do so via the command in the chat, !KSL, and you will get a link to the Patreon, where you can help support and fund the Korean scene. Again, it is up to you. It is also where you can gain benefits like replay packs if you wish as well. It's all set up there via Patreon. So if you do wish, you can help support us through the Patreon. Otherwise, just watching is enough. Is enough, papi. As we're settling in. For now, Economic Opener out of Cure going for a Rax Expand. Meanwhile, Zoun going for a Gate, a Cyber Expand back at home. So standard openers all around. Standard opener out of Zoun, Economic Opener out of Cure. Este niño. Oh, Eximius. Oh my god. Greetings, Commander. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás, Raiden? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? Good to see you. But hope you guys had a great time. As we will be settling in. Of course, Cyan recently being much more active as of late when it comes to commentating and casting in Brazilian and Portuguese. Okay. Thank you for the support, fellow caster. Thank you, thank you. As Cure is settling in, so is Zoun. Oh, Zoun opting to go for a Stargate opener. Okay, do love to see it. Not necessarily something you see too often. We did have a single Stargate opener previously by Trap, if you recall. Not by Classic. From here, we can embrace Phoenixes, gain map control, harass, of course, and get into a mid-game setup. Otherwise, Zoun could open up Oracle. Meanwhile, first Reaper does dive into the mineral line, into the natural. Hoping to scout the tech. Kira getting to his 1-1-1. And will back off. Does rotate around, has yet to really get eyes on the main. Oh, tries to poke in. Is deflected. Is going to be a Phoenix opener, not Oracle. Zoun is settling in. Meanwhile, Kira with his 1-1-1 going for a Widowmine drop. I'm curious if he moves out with the Marines as well. Do you know that Bjorn and Maru were playing around with a variation of Mine Drop where they move out with mainly Marine, with one Widowmine, and focus on probe kills. But it looks like Kira is embracing additional Widowmine production. And getting into 2. Phoenix dives into... Oh, doesn't quite commit.
Base is under attack.
Reaper poking in. Spots a Phoenix. Kira's aware. Getting in position. Widowmines are spotted. Zoun should be aware of their location. Shouldn't dive in. You're repositioning. Uh-oh. Does get into the mineral line. And Zoun has to be very careful. Meanwhile, Kira committing and going into Cloak Banshee. Oh my god. Cloak Banshee's on the way. Research and Tech Lab is spotted. Zoun knows. Does spot the research. Behind this, going to a fast third Nexus. Before extra tech. Reaper gets found. And I'm curious to see how Kira is able to make use of these Banshees. I mean, usually tank Banshee pushes can work very nicely and very well, especially against like Blink-based openers. Against Phoenixes, I'm not too certain how that dynamic plays out. I mean, there is no detection, true. But there is plenty of anti-air. As the Banshees are backing up, waiting for the second Banshee. Zoun rotating around. Remember, he did scout the research and tech lab, so he's aware that Banshees are definitely a potential. There's potential for Banshees. Is looking. Jesus, fanning out all of his Phoenixes. Looking everywhere. Won't find them yet. Yep, Oracle as well. That should be for the Revelation. So Zoun has read this correctly, but alas, Kira has yet to pull the trigger. There we go. And just now moving out with his Banshees. Okay, this was a big commitment for Kira. We'll see if it pays off. Phoenix is moving out. First Revelation is spent on the main army. A little bit concerning. As Banshees are making their way towards the mineral line, cannon is in position. Let's go. Zoun, he has a cannon at the third and the natural. For the Banshees, they can still one-shot. Banshees taking a lot of damage. Phoenix, they come back home. They take down 1, they take down, oh, almost a second. Almost. 5 probe kills. It's okay for 1 Banshee. Meanwhile, the main army does push in towards the right-hand side. I'll pick up here by Kira. Very nicely done. Saves the Cyclone. Banshee goes down. And that was not the best trade for Kira. That's 2 Cloak Banshees for 6 probes. Not the best trade. Stage trap pops up. Kira trying to engage. Not a bad trade. It picks up a lot of zealots. Getting his third base on location. Kira still maintains most of his ground army. It's a lot of Marines. Reinforcing with the Widowmines. And he's pushing. He's taking a lot of hits. Overcharge is going to be ready. Overcharge is popped. But Zoun, he just can't dive. He doesn't have enough zealots. Yeah, Kiri's overwhelming. Picks off the zealots one after the other. Overcharge is about to run out. And Kiri, he can just stim in. Phoenixes, they do lift at least some of the Marauders. The mine shots are going off. It looks like the ground damage becomes a little bit too much. And Cure, he's broken the third. Oh, the friendly fire. I appreciate the friendly fire, but GG gets called, and a Cure, he will break through and take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. Again, the Banshees, they didn't really get much damage, but they did distract while Cure moved out across the map, and he just committed. He just kept rallying across, eventually broke the third. Unfortunately, Zoun just needed a little bit more time. If you recall, Zoun, he was throwing down, I want to say it was 4 gateways. Like, he had 3 to 4 extra gateways on the way for extra Zealot warp-ins. If he was able to get there and able to get those warp-ins, then maybe he holds on. Maybe he saves the third base and we progress from there. But alas, he was overwhelmed, and GG. GG, well played. Cure does take it. On top of that, I should also emphasize as well that despite the Phoenix opener, we didn't really get much economic damage. Sure, I should say Zoun was able to shut down the Banshees, but he wasn't able to do much more than that. And you could argue that that was worth it for Cure. That was enough. And now we're getting into game number 2. It's going to be on Site Delta. A much larger map this time. I wouldn't be opposed to Stargate play here, but 2 games in a row, I'm less certain of that. We'll see. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Site Delta, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran, representing Team Liquid. It is Cure. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the Red Protoss player, representing himself, currently teamless, down in the series, receiving a bounce back. It is Zoun. Why didn't Zoun ban post-youth? Is he a masochist? Maybe. Yo, the military sometimes, it does things to a person. No. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised as well. I mean, I mentioned at the start of the series, I mean, that was our first time casting post-youth tonight. Post-youth is one of the most vetoed maps in the map pool, especially considering this is a best of 3, right? You have plenty of vetoes available, so for Zoun to have let post-youth in, I mean, I was curious to see what he had in store for us, but he didn't really get into his game. Didn't get to embrace the mid game. He was kind of cut down before he could get into his proper 3-base saturation, so unfortunately you didn't quite see what Zoun had in store for us in game 1. Meanwhile, here in game 2, Curie sneaks out and we have an eBay block. He's going for the engineering bay here at the natural. Zoun, he will move down to the low ground, but quite late actually, which means, is he forced to expand elsewhere? Potentially. Probe moves down and the eBay is almost done. So a very strong start for Cure, and Zoun, yep, he's going for the unnatural natural. So thankfully this isn't the previous patch. Back when it came to the older Cyclone, Terran players would very often force this kind of situation and then just kill the Protoss with like a Cyclone push. Back when Cyclones were all the craze. Now that is not quite the case. Now Zoun, he has potential to defend, but it's still going to be an awkward defense for Zoun, as the SCV does confirm the location of the expansion. Basically, Cure, he can invest into Reaper Hellion or Reaper Cyclone, and he can try to poke in and threaten either the main base or the natural or both, and try to pull Zoun apart. Yeah, Zoun responds with the Stargate. So, Stargate responses are very common just because, as you can imagine, it takes less time to traverse via air than by ground. So with your Phoenixes and with your Oracles, you can try to pull off a defense here and keep up with the rotations of the Terran. And more so than Stalkers. And it is going to be reactor to Hellion production. So Hellions are amassing. Remember, it takes 3 Hellions to one-shot a probe. And if these Hellions get into the mineral line, it can be disastrous. 2 Hellions so far. 2 more on the way. Interestingly enough, Cure, he's not making any Reapers. He is going for a second Rax, though. Interesting. I'm curious if Cure is going to go for a third Rax before Starport. That could be indicative of a 2-base all-in. We'll see. Oh, yep, there it is. that's a third Rax. Yeah, third Rax before Starport. Cure being hyper aggressive this time. delaying his medevacs, delaying starport production in favor of mass marine and stim. Meanwhile, Hellions, they dive into the natural. I'm not getting too much. 2 probes go down. I mean, there wasn't much to kill. 3 probe kills so far. Headed towards the main. Nice Sim City here by Zoun. He will defend. Shuts down the Hellions. 4 Hellions for 4 probes. That was not the best trade for Cure, but he does at least scout and confirm the Stargate. Now it's time for Zoun to counterattack. Zoun is moving up, but remember, the Hellions that were merely phase 1 of Cure's build. Phase 2 is Stim. Like, again, a very brutal Sim timing. This can also coincide with pulling the boys. We could just pull the boys with this and just commit to just straight up 2 base all in. We'll see how hard Cure commits. As the Raxes are scouted, I believe Zoun saw, yeah, he saw 3. He's fully aware. He's aware of what's going on, but knowing is half the battle. Backup pylons on the way. The initial army is scouted. Now Cure, he's still just vying for map control. Stim is still only halfway done, so he has to wait a little bit longer here before he can pull the trigger. And remember, every Stim counts because there are no medevacs. There's no healing support here for the Marines. So Cure, he has to pick and choose wisely when he stims. As he's moving out across the map. A very beyond move. Basically, Cure, by the time Stim finishes, he's going to be knocking down the 3rd base. Or the natural. Where's he headed? Dipping between Stim isn't quite done yet. Cure pushing in a little bit too soon. Yeah, no Stim. Marines forced to fight. How they pick off at a depth. They get 1 so far. Stim finishing up in 5 seconds. Phoenix, they engage. They take down the first Cyclone. Yeah, and this wasn't anti-timing. Yeah, the Marines are cleaned up all as Stim finishes. Yeah, just a little bit too early. Aye, aye, aye. And Zoun holds. Zoun, he holds. Cure, he got too excited. Got too excited. Not like this. And Zoun from here, he can take a 3rd. Taking his 3rd base, saturating his natural, building up. And Cure, he has to work on his next step from here. He's working on combat shields, medevac production. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a 3rd CC. Speaking of, yeah, there it is. The 3rd CC is now on the way. I mean, Cure still at least has map control, but his initial build was lackluster. Zoun is moving out. Hoping to catch any drop play or any move outs. He will. Forces the unload. Colossus production has begun. Phoenix Colossus here by Zoun. There's still a lot of bio. You're going to be pushing. Now, with the help of 1 Colossus, Zoun, he should be able to hold on. As long as he has a shield battery. Speaking of, there's that shield battery at the 3rd. And 1 on the way at the natural. You're rotating around. Now, a 2nd Colossus has arrived. And Zoun can hold his own. Forces out of Stim. And Cure has to retreat. Whew. Okay. We have a game. We have a back and forth. Zoun, he holds, gets his 3rd. Cure backs off, getting his own 3rd as well. He's getting it saturated. Viking production has begun. Ghost Academy's on the way. Cure is building up. So is Zoun, just now getting into his 3rd Colossus, building up more chargelets. Gateway explosions on the way. That's going to be 7 extra gateways here for Zoun. That's a lot of gates. We'll see if Zoun can keep up. I'm also curious to see if Zoun is going to go into Disruptor production, as we've seen previously here tonight by other Protoss players in PvT, or work towards Storm. Like, what's going to be the extra splash damage here for Zoun? Let's have those 3 Colossus. Templar Archives on the way. Leaning towards Storm. No Disruptors yet. Also, that Scream. Jesus. Hat one, sell it. Aye. Archons are on the way. No Storm yet. Meanwhile, Curious pushing out, does have the supply lead. He's got his Ghost ready. He's got his EMPs. It's going to be 4 Ghosts. Speaking of Sims in, gets the EMP on the Phoenixes. The Phoenixes, they take a lot of hits. Ground Army is able to hold its own, though. Yes, down he holds, he pushes back the army. Gets a Ghost. Oh, just one. Oh, almost gets the others. How big up here from Cure. And reinforcements have arrived, and where are those Zealots? Zoun and Militia Destroyer should be pushing here. Okay. War Prism comes in. Does have reinforcements. I mean, there is a lot of power behind those 3 Colossus, but the EMP does connect. A massive EMP on the Colossus. Curious being patient, banking up. Building up more Marines, more Marauders. Mind Shell goes up. Zoun pushing forward. Gets a Ghost. Getting within range of the mineral line. The extra Vikings have arrived. Wait to see if Cure can collapse in. Playing it safe. A lot of SCVs are going down. Colossus is getting low though. And Zoun backs off. Backs off, doesn't lose any Colossus. Disruptor production has begun. He gets 13 SCVs. And he gets out. I was really concerned that that Cure was going to be able to come in and surround the army. But Zoun, he pulls away in time. Doesn't overextend. Same time, Zealot drop into the natural. Prism will fall. Zoun is working towards Disruptors, but just now getting a second Robo. Again, Zoun, he made the choice to go into a Templar Archives before the second Robo, and not so sure it was quite worth it. He has an Archon. More Disruptors on the way. But Kira still maintains an army supply lead. And the worker count is neck and neck. It's the army that I'm concerned by. Kira did preserve most of his ghosts. He's now to 8 ghosts. That's a lot of EMPs. EMPs can be brutal. Speaking of, never goes off. Up! Good connection. Gets a Ghost. Takes down a massive chunk of Marines as well. Very nice connections so far. One Disruptor falls. Cure unable to push in. Overcharge gets popped. And Cure instead, he just goes for the 3rd expansion. There's the recall. But Cure, he wants to fight. Yeah, Sims on board, takes out the Stalkers. Vikings going ham, the Novas, they do not connect. They barely don't. GG gets called, Cure takes down the main army, takes the fight, and Cure will take the 2-0. GG. GG, well played. I mean, Zoun, he was holding his own, and we saw that he was set up at his 4th base, but not the 3rd. He was caught in between his bases. Cure, he just rotated over, and that was a brutal recall. That just meant that the Stalkers were kind of out of position. They weren't there to protect the Colossus, especially from the Vikings. Vikings, they shut down every single Colossus, and the Disruptors, they didn't quite find the connections they were hoping for. GG. GG, well played. Cure, he outpositions Zoun, and Cure takes the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Cure, he will advance on to the grand finals, but the question becomes who will face off against Cure in those finals. As we have our lower semis, it's going to be a TVZ between Byun and Dark. Let's go. I haven't casted a single Zerg player all day. But finally, we have a Zerg Dark. He's going to be stepping up, going up against Byun. We often do see these two face off in the finals of ESL Open Cup Americas or in KSL as well, but here they don't have a best of 5, they have a best of 3 instead. They'll be facing off in that best of 3.